On YouTube. Bluebird Man here. Today, I'm posting a video up kind of in response to what I've seen as far as comments on my deluxe repeating sparrow trap video, and also comments that I've seen on traps for the house sparrow, hunting videos for the house sparrow, because there's a lot of negative energy out there about those of us who are at odds with these birds for their aggressive behavior. Okay, so I wanted to give myself a little background, or give YouTube a background of who I am. I originally lived in the city when I was very young, up till about 12, and I became a nature person because of my grandparents. They had planted things, had gardens, had birds, and so I became a bird watcher. I'm 18 now. Obviously, this is one of those things that not a lot of people my age get involved with, so I'm actually very proud of it. This bird watching part, not necessarily the trapping, because I can't honestly say I'm proud of what I have to do, but I have to do it to protect the birds that I love. So anyhow, I moved out here to the country, put up a nest box for bluebirds, and realized what an encompassing hobby this is. There's so much to it that you would not think. There's so much more to it than just putting a nest box out for the birds. So my first encounter with the house sparrow was I was probably about 10 or 12 years old at my grandparents' house, and I went out with my grandpa and went out to check the nest boxes, and we opened one up, and lo and behold, there's no nest in the box. There's just a bluebird laying on the floor with its entire skull gashed out. Bloody male bluebird laying on the nest box floor. And I kind of knew a little bit about the house sparrow, but I had no clue what an aggressive, just monster of a bird it was. And so a few years later, I believe it was when I first started bluebirding, I remembered that bird, and I had just heard about the house sparrow, and I knew what it did. So I returned to their house to declare war on them. May sound a little gimmicky, but it's kind of what us bluebirds use the term for. And I did destroy several nests of sparrow eggs. There was just one bluebird nest. I destroyed every last egg, and I just prayed that these sparrows don't retaliate, and I was fortunate that they did not. So here I am now, after 7 years. 7 years helping these guys out. That means since I was about 12, 13 years old. I picked it up about then. So right about the time I moved out here. And over the years, I've had a lot of dealings with house sparrow. A lot of experiences. Read a lot of experiences online. And I cannot accept this bird. Not only is it not native, it's not contributing to insect population, it destroys crops. But you have to be a bluebirder to understand where we come from. So, anyhow, here I have a very excellent book, Bluebird Trails by Doreen Scriven. This is very good if you want to pick up on the bluebird hobby. And this section in here is a few sections. This is a very comprehensive book describing the house sparrow, but a lot of other predators and issues. It says, once you experience the carnage created by house sparrows, you know why all bluebirders must take the oath. I will not, under any circumstances, allow house sparrows to nest in my boxes. Actually, a European weaver finch rather than a New World sparrow, the house sparrow is probably the most frustrating predator to trap. The often repeated phrase, let nature take its course, can be countered with the reminder that the deliberate, repeated introduction of this bird into North America was not nature's way. It is possible that bluebirds could have survived, albeit in diminished numbers, destruction of woodlands, removal of dead trees, and even man-made chemicals were it not for that even earlier mistake of man. Sadly, it is very difficult to convince people that those cute little sparrows, cheerfully chirping all winter at the feeder and taking over untended martin houses, are anything but cute and cheerful. They not only reduce the food available to beneficial songbirds, they are vicious killers. Few bluebirders have been able to prevent competition and usurpation of nest boxes without also experienced predation that is instinctive to house sparrows. And continuing here, I just wanted to do a little read ahead, check out what I'm reading here, just to make sure it follows in line with the video. Efforts to prevent them from using nest boxes range from lining the back of the box with foil to lowering the box dangerously close to the ground in the mistaken belief that they won't use a low box, to adding a stake with colored streamers, to attaching mylar strips or wire or cords closely spaced around the front of the box. Constantly removing the nest and eggs of this unprotected species can backfire. Sparrows may retaliate. Only in an area new to house sparrow encroachment will these efforts be sufficient. More often, they work the first year or two, only to suddenly turn to tragedy. The bluebird nest with healthy, plump nestlings just getting their colorful pin feathers is found on the next check to contain horrid, smelly, fly-ridden, bloody, mutilated corpses. Nothing is more heartbreaking on the Bluebird Trail, and I agree with that, because it's a lot of effort to get these boxes placed correctly and have everything correct for the birds. So continuing here, the sparrows thought to be getting along fine with the bluebirds have struck, seizing the opportunity when both parents were away foraging for food, or a female which had been incubating 5 beautiful eggs or brooding newly hatched nestlings one day is found dead, hardly recognizable, eyes pecked out, head feathers gone, gashes in the skull, on top of 5 cold eggs or dead nestlings. The sparrows may have already built their own nest over the decaying body, and the eggs or nestlings. So it's kind of like, it pretty much says it all right there. And it goes on to describe the natural history, and this is a very important thing to understanding how they became introduced. In order to deal successfully with the onslaught from the house sparrow, you need to know something of its natural history, its instincts, and its usual behavior. House sparrows were released at various places along the eastern seaboard between 1850 and 1870. Familiar to many of the new immigrants, who mistakenly thought that insects were the main diet of the birds and thus they would help eradicate crop pests. It took just 25 years to recognize house sparrows were much worse pests. By then it was too late. They quickly proliferated across the United States, following settlement and even getting ahead of it along the earliest lines where boxcars spilled grain. They soon also became notorious for the destruction they caused among blossoms of various fruits and the spread of noxious weeds such as crabgrass. They may well now be the most abundant wild bird species in North America and the most successful wild bird in the world. 80% have at least 2 broods per season, and in more temperate areas will have 3 to 5 broods. No true sparrow will attempt to use bluebird box. It's unfortunate that this bird, actually the weaver finch, as mentioned, carries the name of sparrow. And then it goes on to describe the male and female, which I find a lot of that on the internet. Actually, a lot of this information, but I just think this is an excellent book. So it goes on to describe the behavior. It describes the bond of the male house sparrow to the nest box. Having decided on his territory in a particular box, he remains attached to that box no matter what happens to the nest, eggs, or female. He quickly finds a replacement if his first mate disappears. This bond between the male house sparrow and his nest box is amply described in Don Grussing's excellent small paperback book, How to Control House Sparrows, of the year 1980. Grussing points out that the attachment of the male house sparrow to his chosen site often begins before migrating birds arrive in the spring. This is another reason that sparrows are so hard to discourage. You can kill or trap his mate, and, in contrast to bluebirds, chickadees, and tree swallow parrots, who move elsewhere once trouble has occurred, the male will stay with the house he has selected. You can destroy his nest every day, and he will return often until the end of the breeding season, rebuilding the nest, chirping for a female all day long, throughout the summer until finally his gonads have shrunk and he no longer remembers why he sings. The female who loses her male will move on in search of another mate and nest site, but the lone male will stay and try, and usually succeed, in attracting another female to the site to which he is so attached. And it talks about the early sparrow traps, like glue type ones, which I do not advise that. That is very inhumane to leave a bird trapped in glue. That's just torture. And I know the deluxe trap can be bad to some, but being stuck in glue and dying is a lot worse than being in a cage with food and water. So hopefully I've kind of gotten the point across here why I do what I do. There's so much to it. There's so much I can say about it. But the research speaks for itself. I kind of want to take a minute here to look at scripts from the Cialis.org website about experiences others have had. Just reading through this is amazing how many stories of attacks there are here. It's so hard to pick and choose. These are all great stories. Sad, but they are great stories. I see I've been rambling on for about 14 minutes. Wow. What to choose, what to choose. Really should have had these picked out. Okay, let's start with one here from the top. If I can just find it, I thought this was a great one. It was in the case of a purple martin complex. One about destroying all the martin eggs in an entire complex. Wow, I don't think I'm gonna find this. Wow. I'm just lost in this big block of just stories from people. Wow. Okay, here's kind of a family one. Our bluebird pair had 5 eggs, 5 hatchlings, and 5 grown babies. My daughter talked every day about the pending joy of the whole family of 7 eating from our back porch. I called her today right after school as she headed out to feed them again. Fortunately, all I heard was a horrible wailing cry. She witnessed the sparrow coming out of the box with all 5 bloody babies on the ground. So, killed all those baby birds. Okay, here's a good one that occurred in a martin colony. Male sparrow started a one-bird campaign to destroy as many of the martin nests as he could. I remember coming home from school and finding a number of white martin eggs, some with large embryos inside, scattered underneath the house. He had wiped out 2 nests that day. The next morning I saw him fly out of another martin nest with a white egg in his beak. For the next several weeks, that one male sparrow destroyed 8 martin nests and around 50 eggs. 50 eggs. I'm losing my voice here. He even destroyed the eggs again of 2 pairs that had re-nested. So, they don't give up, guys. I think I'm about at my stopping point here. I don't think I can go on much longer. My goodness. Almost about a 20-minute video. Check out the links that I'm going to post in the description to the video or on the deluxe repeating sparrow trap video. But I will warn you, there are some graphic photos there on the website, so if you don't want to see anything graphic, you don't want to see anything bloody, dead birds, mangled feathers everywhere, I wouldn't suggest opening that stuff. But I think I've gotten the point across. Hopefully. I can't sway everybody, but once you become a bluebirder, things are different. And I understand that there are people out there who don't believe in harming an animal. I completely understand where you're coming from, but I have my beliefs, and they're going to stay my beliefs. And because I've kept these house sparrows away from the bluebirds, I have been very successful. They overran the neighborhood, and when I came in, things had just kind of leveled out. I had about 13 individual bluebirds fledge this year from the boxes, and about that same number of tree swallows. I have the nest boxes paired outside in an open field. But yeah, guys, there's a lot to this. We dedicate so much time and effort and money We don't want a creature smaller than the human brain. Destroy that all in a matter of seconds, because that's all it takes. It takes just seconds for the Sparrow to get in there and destroy them eggs. But I've run my course here. I appreciate the support. Thanks to those of you who responded to my previous videos positively, and I'd love to hear your support. Bring in others if you will. Those of you who left negative comments, well, it is what it is. I try to give the most respect, but if you're going to leave a comment just bashing me or insulting me, you're not going to, don't expect me to come with a giving heart and accepting heart right away. I guess that's my message here. Don't be so judgmental. I understand a lot of our friends over there in Europe are very offended by that because they love these birds. And I know that they're endangered over there, or at least their population severely declined. Please, make all the sparrows you want. Come back over here and get all of them. But what's done is done. A lot of mistakes made by humans, but it's the world we live in. Anyhow, thanks a lot, guys. That's it for today's video. I also have another video that should have been uploaded. It was an update on my trapping and how that was going. So I will post that soon. Thank you very much, and take care.